We are talking about your beauty industry hot takes. If you have a problem with a brand, a product, or influencers, you told me, you did not hold back, and we're gonna talk through them. Also, the last time that I filmed a video where I had my sister sitting behind the scenes and kind of jumping in with her thoughts, you guys really loved it, so I thought this would be a fun video to do that exact same thing again. So, take it away, Emily.
I love brands that dupe trendy products. But then another one said, as a product developer, I am so over dupe culture. Using another brand's formula or shades as inspiration or a benchmark is one thing, but copying everything down to the packaging design and marketing is so sketchy and lame.
I feel like my opinion on this is somewhere in between these two statements because I completely agree with the product developer. I think that if a brand is copying every single thing about a product and then calling that a dupe, that's shady. That is lame, like they said. It's sketchy. I think it's unethical. Like, that's not a dupe. You're just copying. And I feel like I've said something like that in a previous video, and I saw comments from people saying like, who cares? You know, these big brands make so much money, they don't need any more. And it's like, sure, you can think of it that way, but at the end of the day, like whether it's a big company or a small company, it's still copying, and it still is not something that I would consider to be super ethical. But on the other hand, I think that when done right and when done in a way that is actually, you know, like they said, using a product as inspiration, but then trying to create your own version without copying the packaging and without trying to name the product in a way that points to it being a copy of that other product. I think there is kind of a tasteful, cheeky way to do it. And there are definitely products out there that are meant to be dupes for popular products that I really love. And at the same time, I totally understand the argument that not everybody can afford these higher price point products that go viral, and so having that dupe available is really helpful. But like, there's one brand that immediately comes to mind that I personally think is just tacky, if I'm being totally honest. I don't know the name of the brand off the top of my head, and I wonder if you do, but it's an Australian brand that recently came to the US. It has like light pink packaging. It's like this dupe brand.
MCO Beauty.
MCO Beauty, yes. So I got a PR package from them, and I don't know how because I didn't give them my address. They never reached out and asked if they could send it to me, and the entire package was just filled with their copies of popular products because that is all that brand does. And in my opinion, it's just a bit tacky. It's kind of in poor taste. It's like, that's what your brand is? You're a copycat brand? I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a hot take, like my stance on it. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And like you said with the big brands, at the end of the day, it's still a person behind the product that had the idea. And so it feels weird to rip off someone's idea. That, and especially certain brands that dupe products from small businesses, I think that's a whole other level of just not okay.
Okay, yes. I actually think that's a really good point, and that makes me think back to my time at Target. Because, you know, as consumers and people that are shopping in the store, we just see one product sitting on a shelf. But the reality is there is so much that goes into that product actually making it to the shelf. And there are so many people that dedicate so much of their time and brain power and energy towards the creation of that product. So yeah, even if it's a big company, like that does suck if you're behind the scenes. Like, I'm the one who thought of this idea and now all these brands are ripping it off. So that's a good point. But also, I think to your second point, I think that's what I was talking about in a video once where people did not fully agree with me. And I was just saying, like, I don't really want to review products from Revolution Beauty because they rip off so many other brands. And the reason why I said that is because I specifically remember that happening to Manny MUA like years ago now, where he was really, what's the word, proud of this product that he had come out with. And then shortly after that, Revolution Beauty ripped it off. And at that point, I think he was very much considered to be a small indie brand. I think he still is technically considered to be an indie brand. So it's like, when these big brands are stealing from smaller brands, it just feels really icky.
Another example with Revolution Beauty was there was an indie brand named Pink Honey, I think, and they're known for this this product that looks like a little honey pot. I don't know if it was like a brow product or a lip mask or something along those lines, but Makeup Revolution took it and copied the exact same packaging product. I mean, it was a honey pot, and they had something similar to the Pink Honey name in the product title. I can't remember what exactly it was, but that Pink Honey brand that originally had that found out about it, and they were not happy about it.
Yeah. So, agreed. I feel like we're on the same page. I'll be curious to know what you guys think. It's like, there's a way to do this in a way that's not so shady, and a lot of the times it's done in a shady way.
Every other week, influencers have a new favorite product you must try. It would be great if they would say how it compares to other products they've recommended or currently use, and say if they would continue to use it, as so many clearly just mention new products that have been sent to them for reviews, and we never know if they'll continue to use them. But then on the other hand, someone else says, even though it's oversaturated and the constant influx of new products can be annoying and overwhelming, I love it. Makeup performances and formulas have never been better. All the competition has greatly increased the quality in the market.
It's interesting to hear the point of view as a viewer who is not an influencer like I am, because I hear something like that, like about influencers having a new favorite every other week, and I am immediately thinking like, oh, it's just because they're trying to keep up with the launches and make sure that their content is relevant and that they're posting about these launches so they can get the views and that their audience stays interested. Like, that is my assumption as to why people do that. I know I can get sucked into that. I actually for a while was filming a series where I reviewed new/viral launches, and I told my sister, who's sitting right here, that I wanted to pause that series because I felt like I just was getting too swallowed by it, where I felt like I was constantly having to try every single new thing, and then it wasn't giving me the free space to create the other kind of content that I prefer to create anyway, but that isn't focused on things like that. And so I think, again, my assumption is that these creators who kind of get into that niche and maybe go viral or see success in posting videos like that kind of feel trapped in it, where then they're like, okay, but what else can I do that's going to keep the same amount of interest in my videos if I'm not posting about the new, next, latest, and greatest thing? Would you agree as an influencer?
Yeah, I do agree, but I think that that's also just because I love the beauty industry and I understand that that's how it operates. But I also agree with the second person's point too, because I also love it. I love seeing what brands are coming out with just because I think it's interesting. I like seeing the innovation. I like seeing how creative brands can be. And I also like seeing these different types of product launches where I can be like, oh, that might lead to something else, lead to a new kind of trend. So I see both points. I love it, but I also understand that it's overwhelming because I feel overwhelmed sometimes too.
Yeah, I kind of follow that same wavelength too, where it's like I, to this second person's point, enjoy like these new product launches because it's fun and exciting. But I'm obsessed with the beauty industry, and my sister is too, but not everybody is. And so I think, those that don't love it as much are just like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Whereas people like us are like, did you see this new launch? This is so cool. We can't wait to try this.
Half the products that are called viral are not actually viral, but just ads shoved down our throat.
Okay, yes, I'm so glad you brought this up. Not really you, but you. I have noticed this. There will be these sketchy ads on TikTok from a brand I've never heard of with a really rogue product saying this viral, I don't know, whatever, and then going in to promote their product. And I'm like, that's not viral. Nobody even knows what this is. But I think brands have just started to use the word viral as a marketing strategy because it must perform well for them. I was going to say they think that that's going to make their ad perform better and have people become more interested. But it must do those things or they wouldn't keep using it, right?
K18 is starting to become quite extensive like Olaplex, which you said was your problem with them.
Personal attack.
And then another person says K18 is disappointing. They should have just stuck with their treatment.
So I agree in that I said that I don't love the fact that Olaplex started as this bond repair treatment and then exploded into this massive brand with a huge product assortment, including a lot of products that didn't really feel relevant to bond repair. So now that we have seen K18 start to follow a similar evolution, it's like, what's going on here? What is the main goal? Okay, I need to take a step back. Because I think originally when I said that about Olaplex, and I still stand by what I said in that video, it was from the perspective of not feeling like all of these products are necessary in order to get the best results in terms of bond repair. I feel that exact same way about K18 and any other brand like that starts off with this one treatment and then starts to have all of these other products that include that ingredient, but are they really gonna make that much more of a difference? Probably not. I think now that I am seeing more and more brands do this, I have just kind of reframed my mindset about it from like this brand who's trying to mislead us into thinking that we need all of these products to make our hair better. From that to a perspective that's like, okay, you know, this is a brand that started off that way, but maybe now they just want to expand into being this holistic hair care brand that has this hero product of the bond repair treatment, but then where you can also find everything else you need in your hair routine. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it now, but regardless, I mean, those of you that have been keeping up with my content know I've been very open about the fact that a lot of these launches K18 has come out with have been flops for me anyway. So I think maybe that's why I haven't vocalized that and like my thoughts on all of this, because I don't even really like a lot of the new launches, like the oil I said pass on, the conditioner I said pass on, the dry shampoo. So it's not like I'm obsessed with all these products and then trying to be like, does that contradict what I previously said about Olaplex? Because I haven't really been impressed anyway, which to this other person's point, yeah, has kind of been disappointing because I feel like they really, I mean, with their treatment in my eyes, established themselves as this brand that was like revolutionary and was only ever going to have products that were revolutionary. So I think to see them come out with these products that have fallen flat for me has, yes, exactly what they said, been disappointing.
I work for a big manufacturer in skin and hair. Social media narratives are toxic and misleading the consumer. Reality is that many times small brands don't have the resources to do clinical testing or invest in claim substantiation. They make false marketing claims that slide under the radar because they don't have as much liability risk as a big brand with deeper pockets. The anti-big brand trend is toxic and it actually hurts manufacturers who add investing in proven science.
Thank you for saying it. This exact concept has been on my list of videos to create for the longest time, but I've just been sitting on it because whenever I have a video idea like this that is a bit more vague, I don't want to just jump on it and then feel like I'm rushing to form my thoughts. Like I kind of like to write something like this down and then let the ideas continue to flow. So that's what I've been doing behind the scenes, but this has been something that's been on my radar for a while that really, really bothers me. We have gotten to this space on social media where, like this person said, there's this movement against big brands, even though these big brands are the ones that have the money to make sure that they are doing proper research and development and everything to make sure that we're using a safe, efficacious product versus these teeny tiny brands that don't have the spend for that kind of thing and therefore are not going to the same great lengths to make sure that their products are legit and they work and are proven, etc. I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, hopefully. And it's not that I'm trying to say we should stop purchasing from small brands. It's just that this anti-big brand to go for a smaller brand because that brand is what is, you know, clean or non-toxic or whatever it may be is such a backwards way of thinking. Any last words?
No notes.
No notes.
I never trust an ad. I automatically assume an influencer is lying when they say a product is good because they're being paid for it. And another person says influencers will promote literally anything for money even if they're not actually using the products.
So I completely understand why so many people feel this way. This was definitely something we saw a lot of in responses when I was asking like, what are your hot takes? So many people were saying like, I don't trust ads. I don't trust influencers doing sponsorships, you know, same thing, different font. And I get why people feel that way because we have seen time and time again sponsorships about products from influencers who then afterwards never talk about the product again, never use the product again, or have been proven to kind of be lying in one way or another in that ad. That is something that's been really interesting about TikTok because of the nature of that content. It's pretty easy to go back and pinpoint specific things people have said about products. And that's something I feel like I'll see pop up on my For You page often, like an influencer promoting something that directly contradicts something they said before. And that's not in a way of like they have evolved and changed, you know, their opinions on things and have a different stance. It's like, you know, very clear that they just accepted it for the money. And that is super frustrating for me as a creator because then when somebody stumbles across my videos and they don't have the context to understand how important honesty is to me, they a lot of the times will automatically assume that I am lying or just talking about something to get paid. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen comments like that under my sponsored videos by people who don't even follow me, meaning they don't have that background to really understand who I am as a creator and how I go about things and what's important to me. But I think that I've kind of just gotten to this place where I've accepted that it's inevitable because of the fact that there are so many influencers who have been caught in lies. Like, oh, I think this was a couple of years ago, but I remember like maybe in 2020, 2021 OG TikTok days, there was this creator who posted a video literally saying like, everybody lies, you guys. Why are you mad? Like every influencer. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yes. And I remember being like, what? Like, and it made me so mad because I'm like, nuh-uh, not everybody does. I don't. Like, what the heck? So there are people out there that literally feel that way and think that way. Like, who cares? Everyone lies. So yeah, I'll lie. I'll take the money. And that sucks for those of us who don't. You know? It sucks.
I actually like that everyone's releasing lip products right now. I like having all the different texture, color, and flavor options.
Me too.
Not everything has to be price accessible. It's okay if you can't afford something. I can't afford an Hermes bag, and that's okay. Let some things be aspirational. And then on a related note, someone else said, no one should be financing their beauty purchases through Klarna, Afterpay, credit card debt, etc.
I actually agree with that. And I think that's a really good hot take because people get so upset when something expensive launches or when people recommend an expensive product, but that's kind of a good point. Like, not everybody has to be able to afford every single thing. I mean, isn't that kind of the way that like our society runs? Obviously, that would be amazing in an ideal world, but like that's not how life works. And so I think that's interesting to think about in a beauty sense. I've never really thought about it that way. Like, yeah, there are these expensive products, but like the goal isn't for everybody to be able to afford it. And of course that sucks when you can't. Like, oh my God, do you know how many times I've been there in the past where I really, really wanted something, but it just was too expensive? And I was like, do I do it in the name of beauty? But no, because like they said, like I can't afford an Hermes bag. Is it who knows, don't know how to pronounce that, but like same. And that's okay. And I agree, that's okay. I don't need to afford that. Because on that second point, I could not agree more. The fact that there are options to pay for beauty products with Afterpay, credit card debt, etc. is like mind-blowing to me. I mean, we also grew up in a household that just like, I don't even know, it's not like mom and dad were like, this is what you do with money. It's just like, I think they led by example. And so the way that we view money, I think, is very aligned with this. Like, you're using credit card debt to buy a blush? What are you doing? Like, sorry, but like, no, you don't need it. You don't need it. And I've never used a credit card like a credit card. I've always used it like a debit card. And again, I think that's just something that I grew up learning based on my parents. Like, you don't buy something with money that you don't have. That is insanity. I truly cannot imagine using a credit card to spend money I don't have and go into debt, especially when it's beauty related. Like, of course, I don't mean for necessities. Like, that's a different story. I get it. That I'm not shaming anybody for that. I'm saying for these extra frilly things like makeup that you absolutely do not need. That kind of spending, I think, is so irresponsible. Don't do it. If you happen to be a young person watching this, you maybe don't really have, financial habits at this point. Let me be your big sister and tell you there is not a single beauty product out there that is worth going into debt over. There's not. Well, I'm kidding. You fell for it, didn't you?
Also, like, you don't have to buy everything. Like, you're in charge of what you decide to purchase. Can influencers please stop clicking their nails on every package? It drives me crazy.
I don't really have long enough nails to do that. This was by far the number one most, I was gonna say requested. This is not a video of requests. The number one most submitted hot take. The number one hot take. Everyone is so sick and tired of the nails, and it made me glad that I don't do that. I don't think. No, I don't. I know that I don't, because that's just like not a reflex for me to click my nails. I don't get it either. Like, what do you think they're trying to do when they do that?
ASMR, but not everyone gets that or knows what it is.
Or likes it.
I was really disappointed with all of the Launch products that a lot of influencers were hyping.
I purchased and tested out Launch products years ago at this point when I was in my first filming backdrop with a bed behind me. So that would have been, I don't know, like at least 4 years ago, if not longer. Whoa, that's weird to think about. And I hated them all. I thought the quality wasn't there. They made my hair feel like crap. I was in a similar boat where I was really disappointed because there was an influencer that had incredible hair who really hyped this brand up. And I just was like, these were all bad. It wasn't the type of thing where it's like, oh, maybe this just didn't work for me because of my hair type and it's different from hers. It was like, the products were not it. But I feel like I have not seen people talking about Lange in a really long time. And you know, a few people submitted similar things, like they think Lange is not great and they keep seeing influencers promote it. So I would be curious to know if this is a brand that you guys still see being promoted from other influencers. Like, are you seeing this brand all over your feeds? And what's the consensus? Like, is it only brands doing sponsorships? I never see it anymore. So I'm curious, but if you want my personal opinion, save your money. Don't use Afterpay on Lange.
Lack of transparency in product ingredients because it's proprietary.
My sister and I were just watching a TikTok on this. There's this guy who has gone viral a few times now for sharing his marketing POV on really, really popular influencers / celebrity product launches, or just like influencers and celebrities as a whole. And he did a whole video on Lemmy by Kourtney Kardashian talking about this and how sketchy it is that brands do this and just say that, you know, their blend of greens or vitamins or herbs is proprietary, because a lot of the times that just means that they're not using enough of any of those ingredients to actually have a therapeutic effect. And I was like, oh. And then that makes me wonder, like, what beauty brands are doing that? Like, oh, a blend, a complex, a this of, you know, these kinds of ingredients, but they're not actually using enough of, let's say, like citric acid or anything like that to really benefit the hair in a noticeable way. Anyway.
Sol de Janeiro isn't that good.
This is also something I saw a few people say, or just that Sol de Janeiro is overrated and like their fragrances are really, you know, too sweet, too teenagery, and you're not wrong. I do feel like they're a little bit, not juvenile, but like kind of juvenile. Do you think?
Yeah, I almost think it's more of, it's their packaging that plays to that preteen.
Right. To me, it's like my adult version of the Victoria's Secret pink body splashes.
Yes.
You know, it's like where I'm not using it because it's like the most luxurious, unique, show-stopping fragrance of all time. It just like does something for my soul. Like there's a nostalgia to it. Something about using cutesy packaging with a really sweet smell, like feels good. But in saying that, I would agree in that they have products that I have not loved and have kind of been flops for me. A couple of their body creams, just like for different reasons, have not fully worked. But I think I feel that way about pretty much every brand out there. I do not love every single product from any brand. It's always like, yes, some are amazing, some I love. Some I don't love, some didn't work for me. But yeah, I mean, this person's not alone. There are a lot of people who felt this way. And I also kind of feel like the fact that Sephora teens have adopted Sol de Janeiro as a brand, I feel like that's kind of put a bad taste in people's mouth, and they're like, oh, it's not actually that good now because it's become this aesthetic thing for these Sephora teens to have like a million Sol de Janeiro bottles behind them when they're filming a video.
I'm so tired of being told rosemary oil will fix everything.
No, I am also tired, especially because I feel like I get attacked whenever I speak out about it. And I've been speaking out about it for a while now, but I've just kind of like slowly stopped because every time that I did, mainly on TikTok and short form content, I was getting ripped to pieces in the comments. And I was like, this isn't worth it for me. It's not worth it. But I mean, I think if you have watched my content for a long time, you have probably noticed that I am not somebody who pushes the use of rosemary oil, and that is on purpose.
Drugstore price increases.
I have a really hard time understanding how much of this is a result of the economy and inflation and how much of it is just like brands wanting to increase prices because they can. What do you think?
All I think is that drugstore brands selling something for $20+ is insanity.
And like, I agree. And I remember first seeing something like, I think L'Oreal tinted serum, isn't that like $20? I feel like a lot of foundations and skin products now are around $20. And I remember being shocked the first few times I saw that, like, what the heck? That's not drugstore, that's so expensive. But I feel like because so many brands have started to do that, I've now just gotten used to it and like accepted that as the new norm, which again brings me back to my point. Was it the chicken or the egg? I don't know.
What point?
I hope the mic picks that up. The point that is it because of the economy and the inflation or... Great, now nobody understood what I was saying.
Influencers preaching that you must layer physical and chemical SPF for protection.
No, you must not. You don't have to.
Next. Foundation-free makeup looks with so much concealer. What's the point?
Okay, I totally agree with this. I feel like this has kind of become a thing where it's like, I don't wear foundation, and that's like, you know, something you can stamp next to your name is like something amazing, you know, something you can hair flip over. When in reality, most concealers have a lot more coverage than these, you know, foundations or skin tints or products like that these days. So when people are drawing concealer all over their face, like, you know what I mean, the little fan on the forehead, all under the eyes, like everywhere, and then blending that in, it's like, that's more coverage than you would have had if you just used a skin tint.
This one is from a licensed hairstylist and esthetician. They say, our continuing education is brands marketing to us, not real science.
I feel like I've seen a couple of you guys say similar things in my comment section before. Just like, I really wish that as a hairstylist or esthetician, we had access to better science and better education that's science-backed. That's maybe a better way to say that. But in reality, when we have to do these continuing education classes, it's not unbiased science that we're learning. It's just a brand marketing their products to us. And I think that's really disappointing. And I'm hoping that in the future, beauty education and beauty science will just continue to grow. I think the reality is like there's just so much work to be done that I think it's tricky to kind of standardize some of these courses and certifications and licenses. But I appreciate you pointing that out, and I think that is something that's important to remember. If you're taking some sort of class that's claiming to educate you, check in on what the possible biases could be. Who's leading that? What brand do they work for? What do they gain out of telling you the information that they are? All important things to consider for sure.
I hate the constant labeling and compartmentalization of new beauty trends and aesthetics.
Hot take, I don't really care. Like, does that bother you? I feel like people are so mad about like milky nails and blueberry nails and strawberry makeup and all this stuff. And I'm like, does it really matter? Like, why are we so angry? Is it because you're not a youngin' anymore? And you wish you were? I don't know. Like, I just see it as teenagers, like, being cute and enjoying beauty. And isn't literally everything, I mean, not everything, because some things are true innovation, but most trends are recycled. There's a reason why everything old is new again. It's a phrase that people say because it's true. Like that's just how trends go. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I don't really know why we're so mad. Why are we mad? If you're mad about it, why? Let us know.
The only one to be mad about is that one video that talked about leggings legs. What? You haven't seen this?
No.
Oh, like labeling girls with a thigh gap as having leggings legs. Everything is the same lately. No real innovation, very similar product launches in makeup and hair.
I totally agree with that. And I don't know if I've said this in a video, but I know I've been thinking it. Like, have we ever been in a point in the beauty industry before that is like this, where every single brand comes out with their version of the exact same thing? I don't remember it being like this back in the OG days. Like, I don't think it was. I just feel like it wasn't. I'm currently working on my glowy primer showdown. And I'm like, the number of brands that have their own version of that. And that's not even really a good example because that I feel like is a fair kind of product for every brand to take their own stab at. But when it's something like, let's say...
Charlotte Tilbury puff.
Oh, yes, the Charlotte Tilbury wands, like everything like that. It's like, does every brand need to have that exact same kind of product? It's feeling stale. I agree.
I tried Pantene and it was awful. Sorry.
That is okay. That's so okay. You're not the only one. And unfortunately, there is not one single product out there that is going to work the same for every single person in existence, which is why the beauty industry is what it is and can get away with all of these launches because different things work better for different people. So if you hated the Pantene shampoo, if you hate anything I recommend, I get it. Like, not everything I love is going to work for everyone who watches my videos in the exact same way.
I hate incentivized reviews on websites.
Yeah, what's going on with those? I feel like that didn't used to be a thing. And like, maybe it's because some of these retailers were getting in trouble for their lack of transparency, because I do think this has been going on basically forever, where brands like seed for product reviews. And so maybe it is that, like, the FTC or whoever's in charge of that saying you have to disclose that. But now I feel like every single review is incentivized, and it does make me question, like, what's legit or not. And then I'm like, is this how everybody feels about influencers? I would imagine yes, but like probably worse. I don't know. I do try to filter for not incentivized reviews, and I feel like it populates like 2 reviews. I'm like, what? Because there will be like hundreds of reviews on a product, and then to realize they're all incentivized is kind of weird.
I'm tired of Vegamour's targeted ads on YouTube. I need a break. Enough.
I get a lot of these too, and I also notice that Vegamour, is it Vegamour? Who knows? I feel like their influencer marketing strategy is very interesting, because I feel like they utilize influencers who are not really, and this isn't always the case across the board, but what I've noticed is when I hear an influencer talking about Vegamour, they're not a beauty influencer. They're not somebody that would be considered to be kind of like a beauty expert or thought leader. It's usually somebody who has nothing to do with beauty, in the sense that they don't post content, anything like that, and then they're talking about this product, and it immediately makes me sus. It's like, why aren't you going after these people that are maybe a bit more well known for being an expert in that kind of space? I feel like this is gonna make it sound like I'm talking about they should be reaching out to me. That's not what I mean, and they have, but I don't want to be too spicy. I just think that that's really interesting with a product like this that makes claims and markets their products in a very bold way, if that makes sense. Like, it's one thing for, like, for example, I have an Audible ad coming up, or it may have already passed, which I'm so excited about, because you guys know, like, I love books, I love everything, but that does feel like a little bit random for the kind of content I normally create. That's not what I mean, because it's like, things like that can absolutely fit into people's lives. Like, you don't have to be one-dimensional. It's just that when there's this bold claim tied to a product, or like they're making suggestions, like your hair is going to grow so much more quickly, then how come you're not like using a dermatologist to promote your products, you know? Maybe they are, and I just don't see it. I just feel like whenever I hear about Vegamour, it's from somebody who's not an expert.
Everyone thinks they need to start a beauty brand.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And I wonder what that's about. I feel like that for a long time was very much the thing you're supposed to do if you were a makeup YouTuber. Like, okay, then next you create a beauty brand. But it's like, why do so many people want to do that? I feel like people think that that's the be all end all, and like
That's almost like the natural evolution of your influencer career.
yeah, like being an influencer, when there are different avenues you can go. Yeah, I think that's probably part of it, that like people have been made to think that that is what means you've kind of made it. And so that's what they should be aspiring towards, instead of creating a brand or a product because you have an idea. You have this like thing that you feel you need to create. Like, there's a really big difference between those two things. And yeah, I don't think a lot of people do it for the latter. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. Hopefully part 1 of what can be an ongoing hot take series, because I thought this was super fun. What did you think?
Apparently, it was great.
It was great.
So let me know what your thoughts on all of these hot takes are in the comments below. Are there things that you really agreed with or really did not agree with? Any other hot takes that you have that you think I should include in future videos? Let me know, and if you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click on that notification bell, and send my channel to a friend. Thank you so much for your support in doing those things. It really does mean the world, so I appreciate you guys for doing that. Thank you for watching my videos. I love the freaking heck out of you. Make sure to stay tuned for my next one, because that will be up in a few days. But until then, I hope you have a
great few days.